Faustus is a work by Christopher Marlowe. He was born the same year as Shakespeare, and Christopher Marlowe inaugurated the great age of Elizabethan dramas with his plays Tamburlaine, Jews of Malta, Doctor Faustus, Edward II, Massacre of Paris, and his first play was Tamburlaine, in which he introduced the mighty lines or the blank verse, and this blank verse was later popularized by Shakespeare, and he was one among the university wits. So let's see Dr. Faustus in detail. The full title of the work is The Tragical History of the Life and Death of Dr. Faustus, and it belongs to the literary period English Renaissance, and it is a Elizabethan tragedy. Then, while seeking the historical relationship of the character and the work, we see that Marlowe likely learned of the character Dr. Faustus from a story, Historia von die Lohenfürsten, an anonymous volume in German from 1587, and this was translated to English and published in 1592. So Marlowe added his own touches to the story to make it an original tragedy. The work also has elements of morality plays and is divided into 5 acts. Then the term Faustian bargain originated from this play. So let's see what the story is all about. Dr. Faustus, the protagonist of the story, is extremely ambitious in his pursuit of knowledge. Then, feeling that he has reached the end of traditional studies, he decides to pursue magic. Wagner, his servant, brings Valdez and Cornelius to teach him magic, and at this time two angels appears. The good angel tries to convince him not to pursue unholy magic, but the evil angel encourages him. So Faustus begins conjuring and summons upon a devil, Mephistopheles. But after knowing that Mephistopheles cannot do anything that is not commanded by the Lucifer, his master, Faustus starts to learn more about Lucifer from Mephistopheles. Mephistopheles explains the story of Lucifer, who was once the most favorite angel of God, but he rebels and was thrown out from heaven to hell. The story that we see in Paradise Lost. So now Dr. Faustus signs or makes an agreement that he signs his soul to Lucifer in exchange of 24 years, unlimited power and knowledge, with Mephistopheles as his willing servant. Lucifer also agrees with the offer, and Mephistopheles returns with a pact that Faustus has to sign with his blood. But the blood congeals as if refusing to sign, and at this time he thinks that what he was going to do was a mistake or something. But Mephistopheles comes out with some call. He heats the blood and makes him sign, and as soon as he signs, two words, homofuge, which means fleeing man in Latin, gets imprinted on his arms, and he feels dependent of what he has done. By seeing the gifts and wealth that is given by Mephistopheles, he is convinced what he has done is right. So, with his new profound knowledge and power, Faustus seeks to increase his knowledge. Mephistopheles gives Faustus a book filled with magic spells, and also Mephistopheles answers all his questions about astrology and the world, about trees and everything he asks. Mephistopheles answers, but when Dr. Faustus asks who created the world. So they started their journey, and once in Rome, Faustus wants to see all the city's monuments, but Mephistopheles tells him to stay in Pop's private chamber and play a joke on him. Mephistopheles makes Faustus and himself invisible, and they conduct a mischief at Pope and his cardinals. Then we see Faustus returning to Germany, and by this time, his fame as a conjurer has spread far and wide. The German Emperor Charles V has invited Faustus by knowing about his magical skills, and at the Emperor's court, Faustus indulges the Emperor by calling up the spirit of Alexander the Great, essentially Charles' hero. So Charles V was exceedingly impressed and happy by this action of Faustus, but a knight in his chamber is uncomfortable with this devilish magic, and Faustus repays the knight's rudeness by making horns appear on his head. Then we see at the Duke's court Faustus entertaining the Duke and the Duchess with his magic, and then Wagner, his servant, tells the audience that he is worried about Faustus will die soon. So and also he says that Faustus has given all his property to Wagner. Then a group of scholars asks Faustus to call the spirit of Helen of Greece, the most beautiful woman in the world, and he does. Then it is the last moments of Faustus. So as Faustus' death draws nearer, he begins to despair, and the group of scholars with him asks him why, what is wrong with him. So he finally tells them about the deal that he has made with Lucifer, and they are horrified. They'll go and pray for his soul. So the clock strikes midnight, and Faust's time is up. So he cries out, making a last promise to burn his books as devils surrounded him and dragged him away. Then this is the last scene that the chorus delivers an epilogue to conclude the play, confirming that Faustus has fallen to hell and telling the audience to learn from Faustus' example, that not to learn unlawful things beyond the limits of appropriate human knowledge. So let us move on to the themes, and the first one is fate versus free will. The question in Marlowe's play is whether Faustus' fall from the grace is his own fault or whether he is fated to be damned. So we see that Faustus seems to choose his own path, voluntarily agreeing to his deal with Lucifer, and he appears to have the choice to repent at many moments in the play, but he does not do that, and he himself is selecting his way to the hell. The second theme is education, knowledge, and power. The play suggests that there are limits to proper knowledge and education. The desire to learn is not inherently bad, but Faustus goes too far and seeks to know too much. So he himself recognizes this at his last line in the play that contains a promise to burn all his books. The third one is the Renaissance individual. Marlowe, who have lived and wrote during the English Renaissance, and his plays has much to say about the transition from a more medieval society to the Renaissance. So, greatly simplified, we can say that this means a shift in a variety of ways from reliance on some kind of authority to one's own individual self. The next one is temptation, sin, and redemption. So, deeply immersed in Christianity, Marlowe's plays explores the alluring temptation of sin, its consequence, and the possibility of redemption for a sinner like Doctor Faustus. So, Faustus' journey can be seen in relation to the possible trajectory from temptation to sin and to redemption. Faustus' ambition is tempted by the prospect of limitless knowledge and power, and he sins in order to achieve it, and then he rejects the possible redemption. So then there are two symbols in the play. The first one is the good and evil angels. These angels appears when there is a confusion in his decision to give his soul to Lucifer or consider repenting. So the good angel encourages him to seek God's mercy and tell him that it is never too late to do so. So and the evil angel persuades Faustus not to repent. Then the next symbol that we see throughout the play is blood. So blood here symbolizes some true essence of himself. So that is why Lucifer desires a sign of his commitment with his blood.